Welcome into our Sweet 16 reaction show as we come a little humbled right now, right? Just a little bit humbled as Arkansas falls to UConn 88-65. We came with some predictions yesterday, and none of them really worked out.
Yeah, sometimes that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles, and it was a tough one. It was tough to watch, and we're hoping to be able to do another show Saturday night and watch another game, of course, but just not the way it's going to work out this year. I mean, right now, just to quickly say this right off the top, UConn, I mean, if they play the way they play tonight, and give them the credit, because we didn't really play that bad. They really were that good. Yeah. I mean, I don't see a team beating them. If they play the way they did tonight, they won't lose.
So I want to just go ahead and let's get it out there now. 501-291-3005 if you want to call in and be a part of the program tonight as we kind of recap what happened tonight. I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot to recap. UConn dominated. We will talk about it, but we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up as well. As it's transfer portal season now for the Razorbacks.
That's right.
As they finish the season 22-14, and as it went, it just didn't go the way we thought it would. But another Sweet 16 run for the Razorbacks, and they're you can't ever say a Sweet 16 run is a failure. So, with that being said, Arkansas did have a good year. It ended well. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way we'd like it to. Let's get to some comments already here.
Yeah.
On Facebook, if you got some on YouTube as well, watch those. We've got Garrett Brown says, good season, love my Hogs. Garrett, I know you, buddy. I know you are a lifelong Hog fan. Garrett is a kid that if you saw any of the regional tournaments back, like Baylor, when Arkansas would go to Baylor and other places, he was a little kid that was always on television.
Baseball.
Baseball. He was
okay.
Yeah, he was always on there. Todd Sickler says, if we're being honest, this team is overrated in the tournament. I don't think anyone saw us legitimately getting to the Sweet 16. That be said, love the fact that they overachieved at the right time and proud of them all. But, man, that was hard to watch big time. I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about this last night. I watched the show back, kind of scoring in a little bit of what we did right, didn't do right, and I kept thinking to myself, and I kind of was going to bring it up, but it just never came out. But we stole that game from Kansas. If we play them 10 times, they're probably going to beat us 7 times. I mean, they were probably the better team overall, but they weren't that day.
Right.
Last Saturday, we were the better team that night, and we wouldn't be turned away. This team has a lot of heart. But yeah, I agree with what he's saying there. I mean, we got to really, you kind of got to sit back. You get wrapped up in the momentum. You win Illinois, you look pretty good. You beat Kansas, it's huge. Defending champs, the 1 seed, and you get wrapped up that, hey man, we can really get it going here. This is a team that if we can get past UConn, we might make Final Four or further. But you got to go back just a couple weeks on how we're like, let's get this over with. This season has been just terrible. And, so you got to be proud. I mean, even though tonight didn't go the way we wanted it to, and it was hard to watch, and it was just a straight-up woodshed. I mean, that's literally what it was.
Right.
It was just a beating. And you got to be proud of this team, though, because we really, with all the injuries and all the way we played, the inconsistencies, we shouldn't have been here tonight.
Let's get to that later, but let's talk a little bit right now about what happened tonight. But let's give you a chance to call in, 501-291-3005. If you want to call in and talk a little bit about what happened, we've got comments on Facebook right now. It was boys against men, says Buford Anderson, and it showed. Jonathan Level, that's my buddy right there. He says, woo pig suey, go Hogs. We got this next year. The future is very bright, and he says Lawson Level. Lawson's his 8-year-old, 9-year-old, actually 9-year-old son. So, and I know that if Lawson is watching right now, he's saying, wait a minute, I'm 9, not 8. So, anyway, thank you, Lawson. And, like I said, it's transfer portal season, and Arkansas is going to probably have a new roster. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about the game at hand, though. And, I mean, I think number one, the story about it is UConn shot like 60% for most of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, when the game was close, they were still shooting high. Arkansas shot the ball decently out of the gate. Unfortunately for them, they weren't able to keep it up. And UConn continued to keep it up. And you and I sitting here watching the ball game, we kept saying, they've got to eventually cool off, and they never really did.
No.
And unfortunately for Arkansas, they just didn't have it tonight as far as defensively. UConn had every answer that Arkansas threw at them, and I think that one of the big keys to the ball game was the fact that Devo Davis went off the floor with 18-plus minutes to go, 2 fouls. And you look right then, UConn pretty much goes on a 14-0 run pretty much while Devo was off the floor, and that 14-0 run was it. That did them in. Yeah,
I 100% agree, and we're not blaming this on the refs or anything like that. I mean, they took us to the woodshed, like we said already. But the way they came out and they kind of let it go. They were letting it be that type of game, and they were the more physical team, and they're built more physical, and that was an advantage for them. And we didn't get downhill enough, and they did a really good job defensively at times as well. But once Devo went out, I mean that. He's the dude that willed you through.
Right.
I mean, without him, we're nowhere where we're at. And that was big. And, I think, what was it? You just changed it. The comment the guy said, Buford Anderson or something like that. He said, boys against men. And that was true. There was a lot of that tonight. It had that. I hate that old thing because it gets brought up so much with the whole Larry Johnson and Arkansas and Todd Day and that whole group. But you better go get yourself some men. But it was kind of like that. And that's kind of what we did because we struggled last year with some big guys, and he went out and he got the Mitchell twins. But still, you're not going to see a dude like Sinago in the 7-2, was it Klinger, whatever, and, Klingen, I think. You're not going to see dudes like that very often. There's really not a whole lot of those dudes left. There's very few true centers in the NBA at this point. So we definitely got bigger, but – man, that team just outmatched us, and UConn looks really good right now. Give them the credit. 501-291-3005 if you want to get in here and share your opinion. Maybe not on this game, but what's coming up. I mean, Arkansas is going to overturn their roster. I mean, you can pretty much count on that. I don't know how many how many people are going to be back, but there are going to be some definite change in the roster. Yeah. It's just the way it is with Muss and really in college basketball. I mean, I remember when Anderson was here, a lot of people griped and complained about the fact that we overturned the roster every single year, it seemed like. That was before it seemed like everybody was doing it. We were ahead of the curve there. Unfortunately for Anderson, he was unable to recruit in the way that you need, like Muss does. And Muss has got guys coming in. Layden Blocker's a guy, 5-star, that's coming in the guard spot that we have seen Landron Blocker, his brother, in person.
And let's just say that if Layden is better than Landron, we've got a guy coming in. I really believe that.
Layden's really good. He's a junior right now for Little Rock Christian. But, Layden, man, I watched his tape, and he's pretty impressive. He's about a 6'2", kind of a little bit of a lanky build, point guard, can play a little bit of combo guard, can shoot the three, get to the bucket. He's got a little bit of JD Nolte in him where he can go get his own a little bit. He seems to be pretty athletic, but I think he's got a good outside shot, and that's definitely something that this team currently could use a lot.
Brian Brewer says, so you think it'll be a different roster? All that NBA talent is not ready for the NBA, or all that talent's not ready for the NBA. And yes, it will be a different roster. You will see Anthony Black. He will declare very soon for the NBA draft. You will see Nick Smith declare for the NBA draft pretty soon. Then you're going to have some questions. Yeah. Ricky Council, is he going to come back? Jordan Walsh, is he going to come back? Trevin Brazil, is he going to come back? Those guys are up in the air. All those guys have eligibility. Even Ricky Council, he's just a junior. So they have the opportunity to come back. Will they, though? I don't know. That's going to be the question.
I definitely think they should, personally. And I'm not trying to be because I'm a Razorback fan and, be biased there. But Jordan Walsh, I think he has kind of alluded to that he's kind of leaning towards coming back from what I've heard. He could really use that in his game. I feel like his draft stock's dropped a little bit from his potential coming out of high school. I think he could be an extremely good player in college with another year of college experience. We'll talk. I mean, it's hard to talk about Nick Smith and that whole situation. Do I personally think Nick Smith would actually it would help him to come back and play a full year without injury? I do, but you're talking millions of dollars. If he's still going to be picked to go in the top 15, that's hard to not go ahead and take that. And then who else we're talking? Council, he has a very good chance to come back. I think. I think Muss would welcome him back. Um, but he's a dude that's going to have an opportunity to play in the G League. He might get, I'm not sure how far he'll go right off the bat. I think he's going to have to work his way onto a roster. But the guy's got obviously the athletic ability to play with anybody. And if he can kind of get the three-point shot up a little bit, he has a shot where he can get a little niche and maybe make an NBA roster and play for a while. And then who else did you bring up there that could come? Oh, Brazil.
Yes.
So Brazil, for whatever reason, sometimes you feel like some people are overrated, and Brazil's one of the dudes I feel like he's underrated a little bit. And I think most Razorback fans feel that way. He's only been kind of projected around the top of the second round, into the first. Even though I think what hurt him a lot, and I think if he'd have played all year healthy, I think he would be in that top 25 right now conversation. But what hurt him is he was only like 6'7" coming out of high school,
right?
And he grew a couple inches at Missouri, and he might have even added an inch since then, according to everything we hear. And we all know the athleticism, the long arms. I mean, he's an unbelievable talent. He might have been the best three-point shooter on the team this year before he went down. Mm-hmm. That played significant minutes, put it that way. And he has a chance if he can come back. I really think if he can play healthy, he's a dude that could play himself into a lottery pick. He's got that kind of talent.
We have a foundation right now that could be unbelievable. I really think going forward, I think you've got a chance to be really good next year. But I just don't. I think that it's going to be how do they shape the roster? How is it that you've got Layden Blocker coming in? One of the guys that we're really hot on right now is Cam Hunter, and we've got a caller calling in. So
UCA guard.
Hold on just a second. Give me a second here. Hey, how's it going? Let us know what's going on. Who is this?
What's up? This is Adam Johnston.
Adam, what's going on, man? I appreciate you calling in. Adam's one of our ASN crew. Adam, you gave us a heads up on this one, to be honest with you. You told us.
Big UConn fan.
Yeah, that UConn was good, and you were right.
Like UConn.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, whenever Arkansas loses, I always cheer for UConn, always have since I was a little kid. I remember being 9 years old and watching Hashim Thabit and that group of guys for UConn. But, yes, we knew this was going to be about it coming into the game. They're super talented. They're a deep team. I mean, they play like 10 guys, and it just seems like every guy that comes on the court is affecting winning basketball. They shot the lights out from three, killed us on the inside. I mean, we knew these guys were a big team, and it just, I don't know, it just felt like we were outmatched.
Yeah,
pretty
Adam,
much, and that was just the story.
Brad and I were talking about it during the game, and it was impressive to see UConn how they were coming downhill off of their screens, like full speed, and they never stopped. If it didn't work, they reverse it around the other side, full speed. They just never stopped moving. It was like the dudes never got tired tonight. I mean, it was really impressive. And then when they missed a three, and honestly, our three-point defense tonight was, if you look at the numbers, it sounds atrocious, but it was actually really good. Our three-point defense, they were hitting shots from 25-foot contested. And then anytime they missed one, they got the offensive rebound and kicked it out, and that's when they'd get that open shot. But, I mean, it was just, a double-edged sword tonight.
I really liked our effort. I mean, our effort was there the whole game. They were just making shots, like a lot of contested shots, like you were saying. Hawkins got going there at the start of the second half, but they used a lot of high ball screens and either hit the roll guy, or if somebody came and helped on the backside, they were hitting the guy in the corner for an open three, and it was just hard to stop when they're making shots like that. I mean, what can you do?
Absolutely. I mean, Well, he just looked at each other at one point and was like, there is nothing that we can do right now to make this any better. They're just playing better than we are, and there's just nothing that is going to change anything about this ball game. I mean, they had us on the outside. They had us on the inside, and I'll be honest with you, I felt like they looked so much better tonight than they did against St. Mary's. I don't know
They
if it
didn't look
was
like the same team.
If it was St. Mary's that just wasn't that athletic, or if they just knew that they could sleepwalk through the ball game. But one of the things that stuck out to me is a lot of people thought UConn was one of the best teams in the country. At the beginning of the year, they looked like it tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that coming into this one. They were a great team, and they got off to such a good start in the non-conference. They were number one in the country for a little bit. They were pretty much top three for a majority of the time, and then it got to conference play, and then, like, where's UConn? I mean, what happened to them? They lost, some games in a row there, and people forgot about them. But after this Big East tournament, starting this NCAA tournament, I mean, they pretty much went back to their old ways. I mean, they showed why they were so good early on in the season. I didn't really follow them in the middle of the year, but I mean, they seem like the best team in the country right now.
Well, they do, and they look good. They're going to have an opportunity to move on. I mean, honestly, one of the things that stuck out to me really, really big was the fact that they were just men among boys. And, I mean, like Jaran said, we tried to go out and get men. Unfortunately, we didn't get the men that they had on the court tonight. And
they got a man like Sonogo.
Right, no doubt.
Sonogo, however you say it. Huh?
And Sonogo was just so hard to handle. I mean, we've played Shebway.
We were just shoving them at times, and they weren't calling a foul.
We've played Shebway, and I think Shebway definitely was hard to handle for us.
But he's different.
I don't know. It was a little different tonight, I felt like, with him.
Yeah, I think.
We played Duke last year. Sorry, Duran, you can go.
No, go ahead. Played Duke last year.
I was just saying, we played Duke last year, and we played against Ben Caro. We played against Mark Williams, played against A.J. Griffin. And we saw the guys that we need to go out and get in the transfer portal because we were like, man, we got to get bigger. When we get down into the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, we got to get these sorts of guys to match these big men. And I don't know, for whatever reason, Sonogo, Klingon, I mean, they're just man amongst boys, like you said. But, I mean, Musk went out there and tried to, I don't know,
yeah, he tried to find
them. I mean, he went out and got big men to help.
Yeah,
and it just didn't help enough.
I remember a time.
But Brazil as well being hurt.
Yes, definitely hurt. And I remember a time a little bit after last year's tournament when we started getting these guys, we were like, I remember us having conversations about it, like, oh, my goodness, we might be one of the best shot blocking teams in the country. We've got Brazil. We've got the Mitchell twins. We've got Graham coming in, all this size. And I think a little bit of that is we had to get bigger, but a lot of that's because if you go back and look at Muss's first few years, we really didn't have big men. Justin Smith was an undersized 6'7" power forward that played the 5 for us, and we went small ball.
Right.
And the year before that, I think we were even smaller. I'm trying to remember that roster with Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe and all them, the COVID year. And
that was the smallest team ever, 2020. 2020 year with Bailey playing center.
Right. Adriel Bailey, and we were basically living at the three-point line that year. And so, I mean, we had been saying it. Everybody had been saying it, like, we need a real 6'10" dude. And then we go out and get 4 of them, basically, 6'9" or taller. Plus, you got Kamani that was already on the roster. But it's still, when you go against, I think we did a good job is what I'm trying to get at in doing that, beefing up the roster, but it just wasn't enough against these guys.
If you hadn't hit the share button, go ahead and do that for us. We would appreciate it. Ed Jones says, improve the shooting by real scrimmaging, not walk through or half speed all the time. All Must teams cannot shoot in games. Find it and fix it. Well, I would say that they probably do a lot of scrimmaging, and I figure that they do a lot of practicing hard. I do think that Musk does need to improve on finding shooters. I think that Arkansas hasn't really been able to shoot the ball all that well. But we've also played to our strengths, too, which is something that a lot of coaches don't do. A lot of times you can't shoot the ball that well, and they just shoot anyway.
Right.
But Arkansas has said, we can't shoot it that well, so we're going to get it into the lane. I mean, it's been very strategic on that on that way, but unfortunately, it does hurt. I will say tonight it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
88-65, you had to find somebody that could stop somebody, and it didn't. Shooting, David King says, shooting 61% at the half. was unbelievable. UConn should win it all. David, let me just give you a little bit of something. They actually were shooting 62.5% in the second half, and I'm talking about for the overall game. And I've got the stats pulled up. Arkansas shot 20 of 63, 31.7%. They were 5 of 16 from three. That was actually 5 of 10 at one point.
3 of 7.5.
20 of 27 from the line, not a bad number there. UConn, on the other hand, shot 57.4%, and that actually came down.
The last 5 minutes,
9 of 20 from three and 17 of 21 from the free throw line. So,
can you ever remember a Must team winning when they gave up 9 made three-pointers? I mean, very few, if ever.
Right.
That's just not the way he's designed. And we talk about the struggles of the shooters that we've kind of had with him. Muss is a defensive-minded dude. I mean, that's really – you're going to have those great defensive teams first. And when you can kind of get a little bit of – find the shooters to go with it as well. And like we said, Brazil might have been the best three-point shooter on the team, and, of course, we lost him. That would have helped things. As we've seen Devo really increase his shot, if we'd have had Devo having those kind of set shots how he did the second half of the season, and with Brazil on there as well, and of course Nick Smith and that whole injury thing, if that doesn't happen, we would have been fine this year with that, and we had a great defensive team to go with it. So, I think bringing these guys in like Blocker, he's going to help us there. If we get Cam, the UCA kid, if we can get him, was it Hunter? Hunter? If we can get him to come on, he's a really good three-point shooter. He also has a really good drive to the lane. Drive to the bucket game.
Adam,
that'll help.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Sorry.
No, you're good. If you got any other final thoughts there?
I was just saying, I was going to add, talking about next year, maybe we can add Ron Holland. I don't know what his status is with Texas or not, but he's a 5-star guy.
Yeah,
but he hasn't signed, I don't believe. So
from my
I'm
understanding,
not sure about that.
From my understanding, that this year has somewhat killed Muss on high school players. And I don't think that they're going after any other high school players. I think everything that we do and that we see from here on out is going to be transfer portal. Bayfall is a guy that's coming in, 6'11" kid, 5-star athlete that's playing in the McDonald's All-American game. Leighton Blocker should be in the McDonald's All-American game, but we're pretty sure that Bronny James got his spot, and that's just a travesty.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened there.
Yeah, well, that's a Travis Shammacher if I've ever seen one.
That's definitely what happened.
Yeah, so
Blocker was rated ahead of him and all that, but Bronny still got it.
Yeah.
Head scratcher.
All right, Adam, thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Adam Johnson, he's part of our crew. He does a great job for us. One of our young bucks. We appreciate him.
Speaking of bucks, I got a YouTube comment here. The Bucks scare you, says, yikes, loss. UConn's past game just killed us.
Well, everything killed us.
Everything.
We've got an open line here, 501-291-3005. If you want to join in, we've got we probably have a caller here just very shortly. We got a couple comments here real quick. We've got Todd, he's hanging in there with us right now. He said it's not so much finding shooters. They have them. His scheme on offense this year was old school pick and roll, one-on-one ball, no intricate off-the-ball screens. And we've got a caller here. Let me get him in here real quick. Hold on just 1 second, caller. Anyway, no intricate ball screens to get the shooters open. And then he said same on defense, need to mix in some zone, can't man up every game. That is a Musselman thing. He is a man-to-man coach.
Yeah.
For sure. We got a caller in. Tell us who you are.
Sean Caldwell.
Sean Caldwell. I know this guy. I know a little bit about him. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking. I can tell you right now, I know that you've got strong opinions when it comes to tonight's ball game. So tell us what you got.
Man, I'm going to be real honest with you. I really don't. We got whooped.
Right.
Up one side and down the other. I mean, we didn't defend well. We didn't shoot well, which the shooting has been a problem, from day one. And I remember paying for the Flow Sports stuff this summer, and watching them in Europe, and I remember Musk talking about after the game that we struggle shooting the ball, and it never changed throughout the course of the year. Now, these guys played hard, and I mean, the fact that we were in the Sweet 16, I was really, with the season we had going into this game, I was like, if we win, it's going to be outstanding. I'm going to be pumped. It's going to be great. If we lose, we got to the Sweet 16, which me and probably 75% of most people did not think they would get in the Sweet 16 the way they ended the season. And not being negative, it's just I didn't think that was the road we were headed on, because
you're absolutely right.
We struggled in every aspect of the game down the stretch. And when Nick coming back after we had just played our best game of the season against Kentucky in Lexington at Rupp Arena, Nick comes back, and the continuity and everything was just it was a problem. Not knocking Nick, not knocking anybody on the team, but when you throw an alpha scorer in the mix, after a team is really starting to play well and starting to kind of find their way a little bit, and then you throw another alpha guy in there, now you almost have to revisit things. Who you're going to call set plays for? You're going to have to get him some sets to cut off screens and get shots, and get him in middle pick and rolls and things like that. So it's just been a crazy season. But the fact that Trevin Brazile, who, when now that you look at it, was far and away our best player, that's not knocking anybody else. The thing I liked about Trevin Brazile was Trevin Brazile, kind of like what Devo and Kamani. Trevin Brazile, as far as Division I college basketball, the physicality and understanding it, he'd been there. And playing in the SEC. I mean, not saying Ricky Council didn't, because Ricky Council had too, but playing in the what are they? They're Wichita, is at the AAC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing in that is different than playing in the SEC, where they're going to be people up in you and bodying you week in and week out. And Council is a phenomenal talent athletically. But there's a lot of areas that if he could come back one more year, which I don't think he's gonna, but if he come back, that guy has the athleticism. If he consistently developed a jump shot, and if you watch, like even with him, he started the season off, everything he shot was a set shot. As the season progressed, he started shooting a high release jump shot, which was something that he developed over the course of time through this season.
Right.
But it wasn't something that you could just say, hey, Ricky, we're down 15 points. We need you to come off screens and hit threes. As a knockdown shooter. He just wasn't. Phenomenal player. Love him. Glad he was here. But, this team lacked that that guy that you give him the ball. You give him the ball and get out of his way.
I think it's a very, very fair assessment of it all. I think that it was the season that could have been, for sure, with this team. If you don't take Brazile off this team, we were talking about that tonight, that you're really talking about a team that's a 2 seed, 3 seed, probably at worst.
4.
Even with Nick Smith, if he never played a game for Arkansas, if you keep Brazile, you probably, him and Council just played off each other so well early. I do think there would have been some adversity in SEC play, but it probably wouldn't have been as much.
Well, just think about the pick and roll game with Brazile, opposed to, not taking anything away from the Mitchell twins or Kamani, but Brazile's a different dude coming off that roll. He's a 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan or something like that. Probably got a 36-inch vertical on top of it. That just changes your offense so much, because that makes so much more attention come down on that compared to some of the other guys that we just mentioned.
Absolutely.
He made some. You made some good points here, Sean, and we kind of touched on that last night a little bit about if you go back to that Kansas game, Devo can get his own in transition, but he kind of had to do it a little bit more when they were set some, and we haven't had that very much this year. There's been flashes where Council can kind of take over and do that a little bit, but it's not consistent, like you're saying. And Devo went off in that second half, 21 points against Kansas. He was going and getting his own, and Black struggled at that all year. Black's a dude that wants to pass first. He's not a guy. You can watch him. When he goes into his floater game, it's the last second he's making up his mind. It looks like it. Like I'm going to pass, I'm shooting. And it's like back of the board, back of the rim kind of stuff a lot of times. He misses a lot of shots that I think once he gets a little bit more confidence in that part of his game, that's where you're really going to see him go to the potential that he really has and go to the next level. But Council's a guy that really likes to, he likes to put two hands on the ball on his shot. And he's got to get he doesn't – if you watch his free throw, and his free throws are really good now, he actually puts it up there, but he takes that left hand off as he shoots. Now, I think when he shoots his three, though, he's still pushing. Yeah. It looks like his hand is kind of supinating.
Right.
And I think that's one of the first things they're going to do in the NBA is try to change that.
When you take that hand all the way up with the shot, you're going to have the ability or the tendency, I should say, to push with that thumb as well. So it ends up being a two-hand shot in a lot of ways, whereas a true shooter –
not getting that rotation
getting that one hand off the ball makes such a difference in the way you shoot it. We want to thank Rolling Smoke Barbecue of Las Vegas for sponsoring it tonight. Sean, while I got you on the phone here, I'm going to throw up some food pics. You can continue to tell us a little bit about what's going on and what you think. But Rolling Smoke Barbecue, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at what they got food-wise, man, I'm telling you right now, this place is good. I'm going to stop there. If I'm ever through Las Vegas again, I promise you. And they're Razorback fans there too. So that's a big deal as well. So if you ever go out to Las Vegas, make sure that you go out to Rolling Smoke Barbecue. And again, I was telling everybody, yesterday, brisket and ribs, that's where it's at. If you're going to find what good barbecue is, that's where it's at, is brisket and ribs. And, Sean, you know as well as I do, I'm a pretty good connoisseur of barbecue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, brisket ribs, they've got their own food group. So
That's right. Well, Sean, you got anything else for us before we let you go?
Well, the one thing I was going to add to a little bit about the Trevor Brazile, not only one of the reasons why he was such a big – he was a great off-ball defender.
Yes.
It change shots at the rim, block shots at the rim. That guy was blocking shots at just a meteoric pace early in the season and in the Maui Invitational. But he was also our best shooter.
Yeah.
You talk about a guy that can stretch the floor in a pick and pop game. Where whenever and again, I think, Jaran, you said it, you can't like knock the Mitchells, but they're no threat in the pick and pop game.
Right.
But if you can pick and pop and pick and roll off of the same middle pick and roll set, and even if they get to the rack on a pick and roll, you throw it up. Brazil's going to go get it.
Right. He could also hit it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game changer, and teams are a lot less likely to zone you when you've got that. When you can pop a 4 or 5 man out against the zone, and he can hit it. Well, now that draws matchup problems, and it creates driving lanes for the backside. But all in all, man, it was a good year. It was a tough year, but I'm proud of the way they finished. And you started to see it a little bit in the SEC tournament. They played really well against Auburn. And then after you played really well against Auburn, then you turn around and you play exceptionally well. Even in a loss, you played pretty well against Texas A&M. Well, you played a great first half, I should say, against Texas A&M. And then you pour a second half. But then you come out in the NCAA tournament. It's a new season. And, they played well. They did knock off Kansas, defending national champs. We lost to the team tonight once again that could potentially win the national championship. It seems like every year we run into that.
Yeah. Right.
I'm getting kind of tired of being always saying, well, that team we lost to is probably going to be the national champ. But at the same time, I'd rather say that than, hey, we missed the tournament again. I mean, really.
Yeah, for
but,
sure.
But all in all, man, I mean, with this young team, no real alphas, no real giving. We didn't have a Moses Moody.
I agree.
We didn't have a Justin Smith. We didn't even have an Adese Tony. People forget about what Adese Tony did last year in the NCAA tournament.
And
for us.
Amude as well.
And Stanley Amude. I mean, we didn't have that guy. And, I'm going to be interested to see how Musk attacks the portal. I do think all these rumors of Musk going other places, I think is bogus. I think he's here. I think he's going to be here. I could be dead wrong, but I think he's going to be here. I just don't see a place. I think Texas is going to make a run at him. I do. That's why I don't think they've offered that coach that's winning, literally winning in everything he's done. But I think they're going to try to make a run at a guy like Musk. But I still think he's going to be here. And I think, Musk every year changes his strategy in the portal. Last year, he was like, he got bullied by Duke, and he's like, well, we got bullied by Duke, so we're going to go get some dudes. Well, we got but we forgot about shooting. And
right.
And this year, I actually think you're going to see him go get some. The year we lost to Baylor, he needed some athletic guards, so he went out and got guys like Adese Tony, Stanley Amude. This year he got dudes because we got bullied by Duke. Now we got bullied by UConn, who could do a little bit of everything. So I really look for us to go get some shooters. I really believe you'll see Ford, Pinion, and Dunning all back.
That's interesting that you say that. Right,
I really
there.
like Dunning, and that's the one I worry about the most out of those three that might leave.
I really think you're going to see them all back. I really do. And then you're going to have Layden Blocker, who is a speed-wise and just being able to push it is another level game changer. And then Brazil's coming back from everything I've heard and everything I've been told. You take Brazil and Bay Fall, who,
looks good,
are built in the same mold, except for Bay Fall's not really a shooter. He's just a shot blocker and rebounder. And, then you add some portal pieces. And this team could be a better team overall. You'd love to get a Council or, somebody like that to stay, but I think Brazil will be that guy.
Yeah.
And you probably
I think Walsh might stay.
Walsh might stay. I mean, I'm in that boat. I think he could definitely use. I mean, my goodness, if you've ever seen a guy that turns down more open shots, just because he don't have confidence.
What he could be next year would be, I think he could really work on his game. He has the ability to shoot the basketball from the outside. He needs to work on his ball handling. He needs to work on his pull-up game quite a bit because, he's probably not a good enough ball handler to go through the lane. But he's got an opportunity to improve as long as he don't get this I'm one and done in my head. And, that's a question that I don't know because, at the end of the day,
the dude.
When you think about kids, are they going to stay or are they going to go? These days, there's no question about it. They're leaving.
Right.
They're not staying.
Even with the NIL.
And you're going to see a lot of these guys that are questionable. They're going to throw their name in the draft.
Yeah, at least get an evaluation.
Anyway.
And Walsh is the
thing about him. Why can't we ever have a situation like that kid from North Carolina, that their best player? He had a less than impressive season by his standards, and he just announced that he's coming back for his junior year.
Right.
People thought he was leaving his freshman year. He came back his sophomore. Why can't that ever happen to us?
Right. Well, Sean, man, we appreciate you joining us here on the Arkansas Sports Network Call-In Show, and just keep on keeping on Hog Baseball tomorrow, right?
Absolutely, but got to start with LSU starting at noon. They move the game up.
Yeah.
It'll be Paul Skeen versus Hunter Holland.
And you've got I believe it moved to the SEC Network, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was an ESPN2 game. Because of the time change, it moved to the SEC Network.
Without the plus?
Right, yes.
Sweet.
Actually on TV. So, hey, man, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Thanks, bud.
I'm going to be heading to a softball game tomorrow. And then, depending on the rain. I haven't heard about anything being changed around, but we're going up there for spring break, and pretty excited to watch the Hogs.
Give us a call at 501-291-3005. You want to share your thoughts, any of the thoughts of either about the game or what's going to happen moving forward. Are you proud of this team? Are you proud of the program that Muss has built? Muss in 4 years as the winningest coach in the SEC. That's one thing. Yeah. That's something that we, let's say this. Anderson he did help the program, no doubt about it. He put some firm footing there. But, Arkansas is the winningest program right now in the SEC. And so you've got that going for you. You've also now you've got a chance to get a little bit of a head start in the portal action. So you've got that as well. Obviously, Muss has proven that he can get you to win games in the tournament. So you've got that. Arkansas made 3 straight Sweet 16s for the first time since the 92-93 all the way through the 95-96 season. So that was 4 in a row. So anyway, but if you got any comments or anything, let us know here at 501-291-3005. I've got a roster in front of me here, and I was just kind of going down the line here. Anthony Black, he's gone. Ricky Council, I've got a gone, but I've got a question mark beside it. Devo Davis actually has 2 years left. And, by the way, give us this comment, by the way.
Yeah, the Bucs scary. You came back, another comment said the UConn offense was scary. Like, how are we supposed to stop a high-flying three-point attack combined with immaculate paint pass game? I said this during the game in a laughing matter, but their three-point shooting or not, we were covering them up. Except for on the offensive rebounds when they were kicking them back out. That's the number one shot in basketball to make. But they were contested, shooting them from 24 to 26 foot and nailing them, and they looked like Villanova against Georgetown in '82. Right. It was insane where they just weren't missing. And when you already know you're going to have an issue down low, that we talked about that last night with Ty Richardson. It was like, hey, we might give them that. We've had a bunch of big guys score a lot against us before, and we win the game, but you can't have both. Right. And that's what happened.
So, anyway, Devo Davis, he's still got 2 years left with the COVID year.
Tell me your thoughts on Council. Why do you think he's gone?
Because
NBA?
Again.
You think he's going first round?
No, he's definitely not going first round. That's the thing. So, last year we had the same situation with Jalen Williams. Is he gone? Yes. Is he going to stay? He throws his name in the draft. I will say this, Jalen Williams
is 6'10".
He's also a better player than Ricky Council is. All-around player.
Potential-wise.
He's definitely a better player than Ricky Council is. Although Ricky Council's got great things going for him, I think he can absolutely help the team.
He's winning the slam dunk contest for sure.
I think that he could take his game from 15 to 18 points a game next year with work. I think that he can help himself in the draft for sure. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things, again, when you look at the whole picture, you say, is a kid going to stay? Is he going to go? Most likely he's going to go. So just anyway, so that's just how I look at it. Jalen Graham, he's got a year left. He's probably not coming back. I think we could see him enter the transfer portal again and move on to another team. Jordan Walsh, 3 years left. I think he's a great question mark there. We know Nick Smith is gone. Makai and Mikael Mitchell both have years left.
I didn't know that, actually.
The question,
it's because of COVID, right?
Right. The question is going to be with them two is, are they going to be able to have a spot here on, and I don't know what happened to your computer there.
It died. It's not plugged in.
Oh, that'd be why. Anyway, Makai and Mikael Mitchell, I don't know that they've got a spot, and I love them. I think they brought something to the team, but also I think that you're talking about guys that just really don't bring a scoring threat down low.
You got Bayfall, and you've got who's a 5-star who's going to get playing time. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing with that. You don't bring a 5-star in and then don't play them unless there's some major stuff going on.
Right.
And if that does happen, then they're probably –
Gosh, I wish I had my pen now.
If you're not starting them and all that, you're kind of like in Jordan Walsh kind of territory. He might be coming back because he didn't play to his potential that year. So Bayfall's probably going to start or be used heavily, I would assume. So that's kind of what you're saying with the Mitchell twins, and then you got Brazil coming back. So I mean, it's a good point. Where do they fit in? How
Right.
much are they going to go
And-
be happy with less playing time?
Well, and let's just say that everybody came back that was supposed to come back. Let's just say that
Yeah.
Ricky Council comes back. Let's just say that Devo Davis comes back. I don't think that Jalen Graham is going to be one of those guys, so let's just leave him out. Walsh comes back. And then let's just say Mackay and Mikael Mitchell does come back. Then you got Pinion, Ford, Dunning, and then possibly Brazil. That's 9 guys right there. I'll be honest with you. I think that Muss would rather have an open roster that he can mold and make into his one-year wonders again, and then do it all over again, rather than go with guys that he is not sure about. And I'll be honest with you, of those guys, you've got Mackay and Mikael Mitchell. You're just not sure about those guys. And then your 3 freshmen. How sure are you that they're going to be guys that can play?
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I think Joseph Pinion is a good player. I think he can be a knockdown shooter. Darian Ford, I think he's a good player. I think he can help us. I do. And then Barry Dunning, I think he's got a high motor. The question is going to be, does Muss see them as guys that really can get into the rotation
Take it to the next level
and help them?
Right, I agree. And you listed off 9 guys there. I think he might be okay with 6 or 7 of them, but he's definitely not 9 of them, more than likely. He just every year it's like, well, somebody's going to have to quit. We've got too many guys. This is the 6th dude coming in from the portal, or well, not that many, but you know what I'm saying. Plus the freshmen and all, and it's kind of always that way every year with him. So that's a good point, and you might be right. He's kind of, like you're saying, you might rather have more options to kind of mold things a different way.
I do. I don't have any inside information.
Right.
I think Cam Hunter is going to be on the team next year.
It's looking good. Had official visit the other day.
And then
like he had a blast.
and again, I just named off 9 guys. I didn't name off Bayfall. I didn't name off
Layden
Blocker. They're all not coming back. I'm telling you that right now. All the people that can come back. I left Jalen Graham off.
Yeah.
They're not all coming back. There's no way. So that's going to be something that we're going to see. Anyway, 501-291-3005. Hey, get it off your chest tonight. If you got something to say, if you're upset, if you're happy, it don't matter. I want to hear from you. You have an open line here to kind of get your feelings out there and let everybody know how you feel about this. And this has been an odd year. It's been an up and down year. I mean, it's been a year that we came in with these high expectations,
Right.
a top 10 team, a number 2 recruiting class in the nation. And, I mean, I think if you look at that standard, we didn't meet that standard. But when you look at it at the end of the day, here we are. We were in the Sweet 16 again, and it worked out okay. I think that there were people. Well, I know that there were people that had higher expectations.
Yes.
I think there were a lot of people that thought we were going to be
Everybody
in the
did.
Final Four. I think that there were people that even entertained the thought of winning the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to this time last year, say a month removed from this time last year,
Right.
we all were like, man, the people we brought in, the transfers, what we had coming in with the number 2 class in the country, the best class we've had in a very long time, maybe the best ever on paper.
Right.
I mean, I think everybody thought this team was at least Elite 8 good, and we
Keep
knew
talking.
it was going to start at the start of the year. That's why we saw ourselves ranked in the top 10 right off the bat. So now if you go back a month ago, yeah, there's a lot of people that didn't think we were making the Sweet 16 at that point, or even 2 weeks ago. Us included, we didn't really think we were going Sweet 16. I did pick us to get to the Elite 8 in one of my brackets. The other one I had us losing to Kansas. But really that was just a Razorback fan picking that win over Kansas.
Sure.
I didn't pick that with my brain. I picked that with my heart, and it worked out. So, but you're completely right. So we'll see how many of these guys we get to stay and how many new faces we have. And looks like they're already starting to get some post-game interviews and stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah. I mean,
that's an old one there.
I'll be interested to see what they say about some of these guys like Council. What's their tone? I'll be honest with you. I read a interview with Brazil today, and it sounded like he was gone. I mean,
He did.
He didn't say it, and he said it's up in the air. But all the things. Listen, if you listen to these kids, they will tell you what they're doing.
Usually.
And I felt like that's kind of what we have with Brazil. Now, Brazil may go in and see that his draft stock's just not high enough, but with another year, he could be high enough. And then, you might see an opportunity there to come back.
Well, what's the difference in second round pick 1 and first round pick 13? Because that's literally how far I think he could jump. Personally.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about money-wise?
Yeah, we're talking
$5
million a year.
So Jalen Williams had a 2-way contract, I believe, which he seems to be up into the Oklahoma City team
he's
more
good.
than he's playing in the G League. But I believe his contract was $500,000.
Right.
And so you're talking about a lottery pick is like $6 or $7 million over a few years, 3 or 4 years, whatever.
That's what I was saying about $5 million.
In fact,
difference.
we can just look at that right here. I mean,
because I right now, unless he gets some new feedback that we're not aware of, he's rated around the very end of the first round, start of the second round. He's around 30 in the picks.
So at the top of the draft, they're at like 9-10 million over. Third. Well, no, that's not true. First year salary $9 million for
first
number
pick.
1 pick.
Yeah.
And then third year option of 10. Let's go all the way down to the end here. You've got pick 30 is $1 million, almost 2, and then the third option is 2.
13.
But
almost
think of
4.
Okay, so let's go to the end of the lottery there. It's 3.
and a
But
half.
I mean, when you add that up, I mean, that's $10 million over 3 years versus like 6. It's a $4 million difference. Kids don't look at it that way, but that's a lot of money. Just to wait one more year, you could get that opportunity. But, nobody's asking me, hey, do you have an opportunity to make a couple $1 million? I mean, I'm obviously going to take that opportunity. So, I mean, they've got big decisions to make for sure.
Right, it ain't easy.
Well, guys, I mean, if we're not going to get any more calls, I guess we can wrap things up. I'll give you an opportunity here again one more time, 501-290 or 291-3000. Let me get it right here, right there. 501-291-3005, and you got Musselman. His press
we got the
conference
post game. It's already posted.
Well, anyway, if you want to get your thoughts out there, if you got any thoughts on Facebook, let us know. But again, we do appreciate you. We got baseball tomorrow. Again, Arkansas taking on LSU. That's a huge series. All eyes of college baseball are going to be on that series. Arkansas's got a chance in that series, if they were to win, to maybe jump to a top 2, top 3 team if they win that game. They're number 5 by D1 baseball. See,
that's 3-1, I think.
They're 3 in a lot of them, and that's
D1 baseball's kind of what you go off of.
D1
mostly.
baseball's kind of the credible one, the most credible one. So Arkansas's got a chance, but they got their hands full for sure going down there. And Arkansas.
Who are they playing? LSU?
Yeah, right. Arkansas hasn't fared well against LSU. And,
overall.
Right.
We've owned them the last couple of seasons, but yes, it's been rough.
So,
at LSU especially.
Exactly. So
you made me say their name there. I got too sped up. Man,
Excuse
took a
me.
year off my life every time I do that.
Anyway, well, let's also say thanks to Rolling Smoke Barbecue for sponsoring us all the way in Las Vegas. Again, if you go to Las Vegas, definitely check them out. We do appreciate them, man. They don't know us from Adam, and they sponsored this last 2 nights. We did a Sweet 16 preview last night. And then we did we're doing this right here, the reaction show. Had Arkansas won, we would have done another reaction show, and I think we probably would have gotten a little bit more reaction had Arkansas won tonight.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But anyway, guys, again, thank you for joining us, and who knows, we'll jump on here again maybe during baseball season, and when things kind of get hot again in baseball. Right now, probably not the time to do that. And I need to get my house finished before we do that. Again,
if we'd have won tonight, we'd probably got. Go ahead.
Well, although this is a great place, I mean, really, it's
a good studio.
We got a great studio here for sure. But again, I'm gonna give you one more opportunity. We're gonna close this thing out in 2 minutes. 501-291-3005. If if you have something you want to say, let us know. But anyway.
I was just going to say that if we'd have won tonight, we were going to get matching tattoos probably, Razorback something.
Who knows? We might have just jumped in the car. And
he was going to get Trevon, and I was going to get Brazil on one arm or something like that. But now we're just going to go trash a hotel, I guess.
Right. We might have did a Facebook Live from a minivan headed down to Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, a little GoPro.
Right. Anyway, I don't know. All right, guys. Again, 501-291-3005. If you don't have anything to say, we're out of here. We do appreciate you joining us again here on the reaction show, Sweet 16. Unfortunately, Arkansas their season is over. Transfer portal season is there, and we know if you want to keep up with all of that, make sure you stay tuned to the Arkansas Sports Network. Share it out with your friends. If you haven't already followed us, liked us, make sure. And Todd Sickler, he's been a supporter. He says, good show, men, peace, and hogs. I love it. Well, we're going to go ahead and kill it right now. We do appreciate you joining us again right here on the Reaction Show. It's been a good one. And, man, who knows? We will see you again pretty soon, I'm sure. I'm sure that baseball is going to have something that we can talk about. And, man, I really believe in this baseball team. I think they're pretty good.
They've gotten good. It's a good offensive team. But for myself, we're out. And for the man behind the man behind the man, Brad Caldwell.
I'm out. We'll see you guys later. Appreciate you joining us.